Dear colleagues and friends, welcome to Light Instruments webinar forum. Today we are going to talk about endodontic treatments. We are going to discuss about the add value of light touch Airbio laser technology in root canal treatment and periapical surgery. To discuss about this subject, we invited a special guest, and we are honored that he accepted our invitation. Professor Adam Stubbles. Hello, Professor Stubbles.
Hello, Wally. Nice to be with you all.
Professor Stubbles is a full professor in endodontics at the University Adasa School of Dental Medicine since 1996. He is the former dean of the Hebrew University Adasa School of Dental Medicine from 1993 to 2013. At the same university, he is the former head of the Department of Endodontics. He is the past president of the International Federation of Endodontics Association. In 2015, he served as the international president of the Alpha Omega fraternity. He is the vice president of the ISLA, the International Society of Laser in Dentistry. Professor Stubbles was awarded with different honorary degrees. Just to mention one of them is the Thomas Evans Achievement Award of the University of Pennsylvania. Professor Stubbles had a lot of publication, and he also is the author of several chapters in the endodontic textbooks. Today, his research is focused mainly on the application of laser in dentistry. Before I give the opportunity for his presentation to Professor Stubbles, I want to remind to the participant that they can write to Professor Stubbles' question. Please use the Q&A section, not the chat one. So please, Professor Stubbles, the webinar is yours.
Thank you very much, Rolly. As I said, it's a pleasure to be with you. I understand that for some people it may be morning, for some it may be afternoon or noontime. We will begin, and I would like to take the few first moments to give a kind of an overview on lasers, because I don't know how many of you are more familiar or less familiar with lasers. So let's see how we can spend the beginning of this webinar. So I'm coming from Jerusalem, and I'm giving you greetings from this city. And we have a very good hospital here where the dental school is located. And this is the Hadasha, Hebrew University Hadasha Medical Center. And as you can see here, this is the area of the School of Dental Medicine. And most of the research and clinics that you will see in this presentation were done in this dental school. So when we speak about lasers, the first word that comes in mind is, of course, light, because laser is a kind of light. It's a special kind of light. And when we ask ourselves, what is light? So we have to go back to old times, and this question has puzzled people for thousands of years, and over the centuries, the answer has been hotly debated. Ancient peoples around the world had many ideas about the nature of light. But did they have the knowledge? So Confucius, the famous Chinese philosopher born in the 6th century, he said, to know what you know and what you don't know, this is the true knowledge. So of course, for us to know about lasers, it will be very efficient for our daily work in the office. In the 3rd century, Archimedes used the optic lenses to concentrate the sun's rays onto the enemy's ships. This was the earliest experiment of how light can be concentrated and directed with a very efficient result. The famous philosopher Plato, 2000 years ago, already said that particles that stream from the eyes combined with rays of sunlight and enter the eyes to trigger vision. And he said that light is the shadow of God. In the 11th century, the famous Al-Hazan, the Arabic philosopher and scientist, he claimed that objects are seen because light shines of them and then enters into the eye. In the 17th century, there was a big debate between Christian Huygens, he was from Holland, the Netherlands, he was a physicist from the Netherlands, and Isaac Newton here on the right, which we all know because he was famous with the force of gravitation. They came up with two different theories, the wave theory of light and the particle theory of light. These opposing theories of light, the wave theory and the particle theory, caused a confusion among scientists. Some sided with Huygens, others with Newton, and the debate lasted for over 100 years. Until this man, Albert Einstein, came, and he said that we cannot solve problems the same way, the same thinking we have created them. And he said that a beam of light is like a stream of bullets. The bullets are tiny particles of energy, and they are the photons. And light can act as either a wave or a particle. In order to understand this, let us picture a hardware. And when we see this, we can see here that in the hardware itself is a piece of matter. But when she jumps over the hurdles, her action can be, looks like with a thrust and thrust of a wave. So she can have both particle and wave aspects, just like light does. So it means both the light theory and the particle theory were right, and we accept both of them. So in 1917, Albert Einstein said that a special kind of light could be created under the right conditions, a light nobody ever seen before. It will be a single color, it would not scatter, and it would be very intense. In 1951, Charles Townes proposed a concept which was called a maser. The maser was a microwave amplification stimulated emission of radiation. 7 years later, Charles Townes and Arthur Schwalow suggested extending maser principles to the infrared visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. But it is interesting that a year before, a gentleman by Gordon Gould, he was a PhD student and he wrote in his laboratory notebook an excitation of light emission. And this is his original paper that he wrote, and he said that some rough calculation on the feasibility of laser. And he named it light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And this was the first time the word laser was used. So all of us, we know today that actually the laser is an acronym, and it exactly describes what is happening in the machine itself. But the first laser that was fired on Earth was by Theodore Maiman. He was the man who built the first laser, and he fired it in Long Beach, California. So when we talk about lasers can measure time in a billionth of a second, can detect a single atom, can drill through a diamond, can help repair the delicate tissues of the eyes, and can be used in dental medicine. And this is, of course, the most important for us. In 1997, the Erbium YAG laser was cleared by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, in the US for use in human teeth, for caries removal, cavity preparations, and modification of dentin and enamel. So when we talk about lasers, just a few moments to spend to make sure that we all understand how do they work. So in order to understand, we have to discuss what is spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. Niels Bohr discovered in 1913 that the electrons do not move but in fixed orbits at certain distances and constant speed around the nucleus. Electrons can jump from the path on one level to on another level. So when we have the spontaneous emission, the atom absorbs energy. As we can see here, this is in the energy source, and this is in the ground state, and then it's elevated to an excited state. It moves to one orbit over here. Spontaneous emission occurs when the atom decays from the excited state to the lower energy state. The excess energy that is released is what we call the photon. So when the flame touches metal, the atoms that make up the metal are stimulated. Their electrons jump to a higher orbit. In jumping back, they emit photons, and thus the metal glows. The process is called spontaneous emission, and all normal light is created through spontaneous emission. But then we have the stimulated emission. The stimulated emission occurs when an excited atom is stimulated to release stored energy. So this is now excited atoms, the electron is here in the second level. And now it's excited. And when it's exciting, the exciting photon and the released photon stimulate two more excited atoms and so on, producing a photon chain reaction. So we all know the normal light here on the left and the laser light here on the right. These are the difference: non-coherent, coherent, broad spectrum, monochromatic, non-collimated, collimated. So the laser principle. Let's take 2-3 minutes just to explain it, and then we'll move to the clinic and the research. So first of all, in order to have the laser, the construction of a light source based on stimulated emission of radiation requires an active medium. So all laser machines, they need to have an active medium, which is here, we call it the laser medium. The active medium is a collection of atoms, molecules that when excited will emit the photons by stimulated emission. The active medium may be gas, liquid, or solid material and is contained in a glass or ceramic tube. Energy in the form of electric current is applied to the medium. When there are more atoms in the excited stage than in the ground stage, a population inversion is created. And this is the condition that all of us, when we use laser, we know that in the optical cavity, we have now the condition of the population inversion. More excited atoms are now than atoms in the ground stage. And this is the precondition for the laser to work. Now we are adding a mirror to each end of the laser. The photons can be directed back and forth through the medium. And here, because of this mirror, we're going to have the amplification. This is part of the process. The produced photons stimulate the emission radiation from multiple excited electrons. The photons can be released by allowing them to pass through one of the mirrors. So the light can be coupled to some delivery device and can be used as a surgical beam. As you can see here on the right, our picture's a little bit disturbing. So I have a very short movie to show you here how it really happens in reality. Suppose we have all these atoms that are in the ground stage in the green color. And now when we will open the machine and we have the electric currents, which is here, we can see very nicely now with the electricity that comes that the atoms now are getting to be in the excited stage. And when they hit each other, the photons are getting aligned in the optical cavity itself and start moving from one mirror to the other. This is the amplification process. But one mirror on one side is transmissive, so we can start releasing the photons, which is actually the laser light, to our target area. In this case, we are doing a cavity preparation in this tooth. So this is in a nutshell how the laser really works. With the rapid development of laser technology, new lasers with a wide range of characteristics are now available and are being used in the fields of dentistry. So today we have a wide range of lasers. And of course, when we talk about these lasers, you can see here that the most important are listed here. Most of dentists will work with these lasers. With excimer, we don't work. Actually, it's not in our dental field, but it can be used for research, and there are some publications in the literature of that. So, most of the lasers that are being used in dentistry, erbium YAG, ND YAG, diode, CO2, they are all in the infrared region. So, when we discuss the laser-tissue interaction, there are three main elements. One element is the wavelengths, because each laser has its own wavelengths, and we cannot change it actually when we buy the machine. We know that this is the wavelengths that we have bought. And also the tissue characteristics. If it's a bone, if it's a tooth, if it's a mild dentin, soft tissue that has enough, that has water, or the hydroxyapatite in the hard tissues, we cannot change. These are two elements, laser wavelengths and the tissue characteristic, that we are not able to change. What we do can, the power density, all the parameters on the laser, we buy a laser and then we can actually control all the different parameters. I will not go into that because this is a completely different presentation. But all these three elements, they will give us together what we call the biological effect. So when we go now to dental medicine, as you can see, we can use lasers in different fields of dental medicine. All they are listed here. But today, for this presentation, we will focus on what you see here, endodontics. So laser in endodontics. In this presentation, I would like actually to be focused on two main important things: the cleaning and disinfection of the root canal system and the periapical surgery. So let's move now and see how we actually use these lasers in endodontics. So before we move, some of you maybe specialists, some of you general practitioners, but all of us are very much familiar with what we call the endodontic principles. And we know that severe injury to the tooth, chemical, mechanical, or microbial, can initiate an irreversible inflammatory change, resulting in necrosis of the pulp tissue. And when the necrotic pulp tissue becomes infected, as we can see here, the microorganisms and the toxins pass from the root canal through the apical foramen into the periodontium and cause damage to the surrounding tissue. And we can see it here very nicely. And when we take care of the situation, the objective of the therapy is to restore and treat the tooth to its proper function, masticatory apparatus, in a healthy situation. So the endodontic treatment, as we all know, we have this triad, the three stages. First of all, cleaning, as we can see here, the problem is here. And then shaping, we have to shape nicely our root canal system. And then, of course, the filling, and then we can see the resolution of the periapical area. So once again, the endodontic triad: cleaning, shaping, and filling. And if it is done properly, there is a very good chance to succeed. In this guy, Idan is 14 years old. He's going under orthodontic treatment. And you can see the nice root canal that was done here. And only 4 months later, only 4 months passed. And you can see here the very nice bone regeneration that occurred. In young people, it is very, very, happens a lot. But in this guy who is 62 years old, you can see that we did the root canal treatment, and if everything is done properly, there is no reason that why after 2 years follow-up we'll see a nice healing of this area that was bothering this patient. This guy, Eldad, is 34 years old. He was sent to the endo department to do root canal treatment on the canine, retreatment on the lateral, and another root canal treatment on this central. So we took care of that, and you can see here on the CT the amount of damage that he has here. This is the post-operative after root canal was done on 21, 22, and 23. And here you can see after 8 months, there is a nice healing. And actually, the oral surgery department decided that the healing goes so well that there is no need anymore to do periapical surgery. But is it possible to remove from the root canal system all the pulp tissue, as well as the microorganisms and their toxic products? So we know already that studies in the 70s and 80s of the 20th century have already shown that complete removal of debris from the root canal system is virtually impossible, because one of the reasons is, of course, the complex anatomy. So we asked ourselves, how does the root canal wall looks following a biomechanical instrumentation? In order to answer this, we have to use the scanning electron microscope, and this is what we did. Root canal preparations were performed on extracted teeth using the nitty rotary files. The crowns were removed and the roots were split longitudinally for SEM analysis, as you can see here. So this will be the SEM. This is magnification 18 times more. And here is the root canal itself, the crown area and the apex area. Here. So when we take magnifications from the root canal middle area, what we see, this is the root canal, the wall, this is the wall of the root canal. But as you can see, there is a heavy coating of what we call a smear layer. As much as we do the instrumentation, every time the shadings of this dentin, they will coat the root canal wall, and there will be a heavy coating of a smear layer. This is magnification of 300. You can see there is no dentinal tubules. How we would like to see our dentin wall? This is the way we would like to see it. 300 magnification, this is the same magnification, this is 2000. We can see dentinal tubules as a clean dentin should look. But we know today that to remove this smear layer, it is not that simple, because if we don't do nothing, this is what we have on the walls of the root canal. If we take magnifications from the coronal area, with the access it may be easier, we still have the same picture. 100 magnification, 300 magnification, heavy coating of a smear layer. It has been shown that root canal instrumentation produces a smear layer that covers the surface of the prepared canal walls. This layer contains inorganic and organic substances such as fragments of odontoblastic processes and necrotic debris. You can read about it in this excellent paper by Torabinejad et al. So the next question is, why is it important to remove the smear layer? So the smear layer itself may be infected, and the bacteria can actually have the bacteria within the dentinal tubules. As you can see here, a bacteria is small enough to enter the dentinal tubule. So available evidence shows that bacteria and their byproducts can be harborized in infected root canals and can invade the dentin. And all these studies attest to this fact. If we take this wonderful picture, you can see here, this is the root canal, and we can see the smear layer. And the smear layer is not only on the wall, but it gets inside the dentinal tubules, as we can see here. So suppose we have a bacteria that is arborized here. The presence of smear layer can inhibit the penetration of antimicrobial agents such as intracanal irrigants and medications into the dentinal tubules. So how we can remove the smear layer? Well, there are different ways, but if we use some imagination, the answer will be, how about lasers? So let's see how it works. And the question is there an added value of the laser technology in endodontics? And we mean in endodontic treatment, endo retreatment, endodontic resorptions, and endodontic surgery. So again, going back to lasers, we know that these are the lasers that are available. But if I will point out that there are three lasers, the diode, the Nd:YAG, and the argon, what is special about these lasers? First of all, it's special because we can see here that the beam is delivered through an optic fiber. So imagine that we are endodontists and we have a root canal, and it is like a dream for us. If we have a fiber that can go, which is like 300 microns, and it can go all the way down the root canal and sterilize the root canal, this is really the goal, and this is really something that we would like very much. So why not? Why not to use it? Let's try. So what we did, as you can see here, this is just a demonstration. We take a canine and we cut the wall, the side of the canine, and you can see now that the fiber is going all the way inside the canal. So the next question is, okay, we can have the fiber going inside the canal, but is it efficient if we will have now the energy, the laser energy inside the canal? Will it remove the smear layer? So we did the same study and we took extracted teeth, we prepared them with the pro-taper files preparation. We went into with the fibers and let's see what is happening. And what we see after we take magnification, we see that we cannot see the dentinal tubules. It is all covered with a smear layer exactly as we had before, that we had no laser and no irrigation in the canal. This is a 600 look at the heavy smear layer. No dental tubules can be seen. And we go to the coronal area, same thing. We cannot remove with the diode or with the Nd:YAG fibers, we cannot remove the smear layer. How about safety? I was concerned that the safety, if you have a laser fiber and the laser is emitted straight ahead and we have the energy going through the apical foramen to an area like the mental foramen, this can be not safe enough. So this is another disadvantage in using fiber optic inside and cleaning the root canal system. Our friend from Japan, Kikuchi Matsumoto, he said that the removal of smear layer and debris by laser is possible. However, it is hard to clean the root canal because the laser is emitted straight ahead, rather than almost impossible to irradiate the lateral canals. And then he added and said, it is necessary to improve the fiber tip and the method in order to irradiate all areas of root canal walls. When our friend Matsumoto published this, we already had the same idea in mind, and we actually thought how we can transmit the laser energy laterally to the walls. And then when we were working on this, a new laser came into market, the Erbium YAG laser, and we thought, okay, what about the Erbium YAG? First of all, the Erbium YAG laser was approved, its approval for use on the hard tissues of teeth. The laser gained an increasing popularity among clinicians. And then we thought, if this is the laser of the future, how should we use it in endo? Let's try and see what we can do. Why it's important? Because first of all, the Erbium YAG relative absorption of laser energy is in water and hydroxyapatite, as we can see here. It is a very high absorption in water and is very high affinity for hydroxyapatite. So let's take a moment and see how it really works. So we are trying to see what is the ablation mechanism of this laser. And you can see this chart as we saw before. The erbium YAG is affinity to water and the hard tissue. So when we try and remove caries or remove a drill, what we can see here that the water in the tooth hard tissue absorbs the laser light. This is the water here, and the molecules absorbs. The water vaporization in the mineral causes volume expansion, resulting in micro explosions. A fast shockwave is created in the hard tissue. The hard tissue breaks into tiny fragments removed by the high water vapors pressure. And this is how we have this cavity now, and this is the mechanism how we drill. This process is called cavitation. So this laser can be used, of course, on hard tissue, but as well we can use it on soft tissue. But for us, the main interest was how we use it, how we can use the erbium YAG laser wavelengths in cleaning the root canal system. So then we understood that actually the diode, the argon, and the Nd:YAG may not be so effective in root canal system. But how about the erbium and the CO2? Well, the erbium, the laser that became popular, and the CO2, the beam is delivered through a hollow tube. So when the beam is delivered through a hollow tube, we thought that there may be a good idea if we just take a hollow tube and we'll make some holes on the sides, and maybe we can release the energy laterally. So then when we go inside the root canal and the energy will go laterally, it will clean better all the smear layer, because it will create later on two effects that we will discuss in a moment. So this was the question. And when we had this in mind, we're talking now more than 10 years ago when we started trying to use the erbium in endodontics, we thought let's build a tip and with holes, and we will get some energy that will go on the side exactly like you do when you have water irrigation in the fields. But this was not working. Why? Because there was not enough flexibility, and this could break in one of these areas. So the next idea was, let's do it spiral. So the slits will be spiral, and this really gave us a lot of flexibility and resistance that it would not break. This was the prototype. As you can see here, we had the tip that goes inside the canal, and the energy should come from these slits going laterally to the walls. And this is the idea. So let's see how we can actually accomplish these thoughts to solve the problem of the smear layer. The objective was to develop a laser accessory, an endo tip, for an efficient and safe use in the root canal system. It should be efficient, safe, easy to use, and not expensive. But we have to mention that the endo side firing spiral tip is designed to be used after, and again I have to emphasize, after root canal preparation with nitty rotary files is completed. We do not use the laser energy to instrument and to widening the canal space. We do our preparation, and then we go with the laser energy for complete disinfection, and you will see that in a moment. So some of our graduate students had the idea, let's see maybe under dark condition how it works. So when we go here, we can see the glow of the energy that goes here inside the canal, and the energy is coming out from these slits going laterally. And then we came up with the protocol, how this could be used. I have to move it for a second here, excuse me. Okay, and now you see, we take the tip. First of all, the most important thing, we have to have liquid. And the liquid always is EDTA 17%. This is the synergistic effect. We go in, going 1 millimeter up and down for 15 seconds, then we turn it 90 degrees, we go again 4 times, we turn it, total time 1 minute. We see we have here a notch that we can see where to start and where to end. And after 1 minute in the root canal, we complete our mission here using this laser. So let's take a look if it's really working. We have now Erbium YAG laser irradiation using side firing tip for 60 seconds with EDTA in the root canal following NITI, in this case pro-taper preparation. So as you can see here, we go now to see the root canal magnification from the root canal apical area. Look at the dentin wall. Very, very clean, looks very nice. And if we go to 1200 magnification, this is what we have. But when we go to the coronal part, 300, you see the dentinal tubules are wider. This is 5000 magnification. We do not see here actually any organic tissue. But when we went by chance, we had one specimen, as you can see here. So we have it cut over here. And we look at the root canal on this side and the root canal surface in the cut area on this side. And you really can see how clean it is. No organic tissue. Everything was removed out. So the next question was it the laser irradiation or was it the EDTA irrigation? So we did a study, we took different groups, and of course, I'll show you just the pictures here so we can see what is happening in this study. So this is no lasing. You see here, we have no lasing at all. Okay, 300 magnification, fully covered with a smear layer. We discussed this before, the diode. The diode didn't do anything. We just have the same smear layer all over the place. But then we used only EDTA. And you can see that if we do, most of the times when we teach in the university, we say, okay, now the final irrigation maybe should be EDTA and then saline, but EDTA is the recommended irrigation. And it's true that EDTA, because it's a chelating agent, it removes some of the debris, but there are still a lot of debris all over the place. Now, when we used, okay. When we used the saline, you can see that there is no debris on the wall, but inside the tubuli, there are still a lot of smear layer. And now I have to see the last one, but it's not working. Okay, I don't have the last one. So I'll show you later on again how clean it is. So first of all, this was the laser that we were used 10 years ago. There was a company, Opus Dent, it was an Israeli company, and they had a machine that was a combination of CO2 and Erbium YAG. And of course, we developed with them this Endo tip. Let's see just one case, an old case, to see how it looks. So this is the preoperative of a young lady who came in, and you see she was about to go abroad to study, and there was a big problem because everyone told her that this tooth has to be extracted. And honestly, this was a little bit problematic. It's more than 10 years ago, and you understand that at this time the implants were not that popular as today. And the mother came and she was crying. They wanted to save the tooth. So this was in January. We relieved her from pain. There was an abscess. So the abscess was drained, and then we introduced calcium hydroxide, as you see here, and we explained the mother, okay, we have this new technology, and would you like us to try and do it? And she said yes, by all means, using the endo spiral tip, because she had nothing to lose at that point. So this was the pre-operative. This is the post-operative, as you can see, one almost July, it's almost a year. This another year here. And this is a 3-year follow-up. This was one of the second case that we did with the laser, and this gave us some, some encouragement to continue on these lines. But you know that in retreatment, we always ask, can the problem of endo failures be solved? And we know that from the famous Washington study that most of the failures are because of imperfect performance of root canal instrumentation and root canal obturation. And this lady, Sarah, she is 24 years old, student at the Faculty of Law. 10 years ago, she fell and broke the mesial incisal corner of her maxillary central incisor. 6 years following the dental trauma, a root canal treatment was performed on the damaged tooth, as you can see. So here we have 2003, the root canal was done, and you can see here that 2 years later, is a very nice, complete healing on this place. In this case, another root canal retreatment. If you do it really properly, there is no reason why we should not succeed. And you can see here, 1 year follow. But not always it works, because in these cases, as you can see here, those periapical lesions, these are endodontic failures. And if you take a look on this one here, post-operative retreatment of mesial root. You can see here, we went through the crown, we instrumented, we cleaned everything, and we sealed it through the crown in order not to remove the crown. 2 years later, look what happens here. Why? Why in some cases works, in some cases it doesn't work. This is a Don, he's 35 years old. You can see here we did a root canal retreatment here and here. November 2012, and this is 2 years later. Here we have a healing, and here we don't have a healing. And if we go 4 years later, complete healing on this one, and look at here. This is, again, the same question, why? So one of the reasons, of course, is the biofilm, which is a structured community of microorganisms encapsulated with a self-developed polymetric matrix and adherent to a living or inert surface. Also, the biofilm resistance is increased to detergent and antibiotics as an dense extracellular matrix, and the outer layer of cells protect the interior of the community. So, is it possible to remove from the root canal system the old filling, as you can see here, as well as the biofilm, the microorganisms, and the toxic products? This is quite a challenge. So I would like to show you a very interesting case of a guy. His name is Thomas, old male. He was referred to the graduate endo clinic after suppurative apical periodontitis was diagnosed in his maxillary left first premolar here. So the root canal by one of the graduate students was done, as you can see here. But he came sometime later, and he complained of severe pain on the second premolar. So at that time, we understood that something wrong is going here. And this tooth, we suspected that there is a fracture, and this tooth was removed. And you can see here vertical fracture that was here. This is the vertical fracture. We can see the line here. But at that point, we said, okay, now we have a tooth that was filled nicely. Let's see what happens if we remove the content of the old filling. So this is what we did. You can see this is the X-ray on the side. And we used high-speed burrs, low-speed burrs, gates, Glidden, drills, headstone files, K files, everything in order to remove the old filling. And when we take another picture, we can see here, there is no gutta percha, no cement. We cannot see anything here on the X-ray. So we decided to see how it looks on the scanning electron microscope. The crown was removed and the roots were longitudinally split. And here you can see the root canal and the SEM examination of the apical, middle, and coronal aspects were done. You can see here, this is the root canal. Now we take a look on this specimen, and here we see something happens. What is there? Take a look here, higher magnification, and what we see here, that there was a piece of gutta percha in this area. So we decided to do a study. We decided to do a study to evaluate the efficacy of erbium laser radiation in removing smear layer and so on. And in this study, same thing. We moved everything out, as you can see here, and we split the tooth, and what we see inside, pieces of gutta percha. It's not only a smear layer, but sometimes we still have pieces of gutta percha that we cannot see on the X-ray itself. This is what we have, and this is what we would like to have. So when we use chloroxine solution, these are studies that we did in the school together with Dr. Shronit Sahar. These are beautiful SEM pictures. You can see the chloroxidine, the wall of the root canal. There's a lot of microorganisms. The EDTA picture looks better, but still you can see a lot of microorganisms. This is a 25,000 magnification, and this is a beautiful picture of 50,000 times magnification, and we can see the bacteria inside. Let's see this case. This case was done with the old tip, as you can see here. One of the first cases, root canal, endo retreatment. We can see here, this is the tip inside. We don't have to take the picture, but this is just for the demonstration. So we have the pre-operative, post-operative, 6 months follow-up, 12 months follow-up. And we can see very nicely that it works. Another case, as you can see here, tooth number 21, there was an endo retreatment following unsuccessful apicoectomy and retrograde amalgam. And when we take a look here, we see that this is how we work. We have the EDTA going in, fill the canal with EDTA, and then of course, going with the tip inside the tooth, 1 millimeter up and down. We can put a stopper if we want to make sure that the length is kept. Okay. And then, of course, the endo filling is done. And the endo was this. Now, as you can see here, the endo side firing spiral tip was designed to ensure efficient cleaning of the root canal system using laser energy following biomechanical preparation of the root canal with nitty rotary files. Okay, this is another case. We'll jump here because I would like to show you some surgical cases. So you can see very nicely what was here, and this was the end of the treatment. In this case, this was a lady who came. She was 28 years old. 6 years ago, the root canal treatment was done, but look how this case looks. Very, very poor endo, poor reconstruction. She was crying. She didn't want to lose the tooth. So we told her, okay, let's try and do it. We were lucky to remove the crown, the post, and even the gutta percha was retrieved. And then we suggested her that we can do this case to clean it with the laser. And this is what we did. She came back after 10 months. She disappeared, and look what we found after 10 months. 10 months later on, just IRM here, temporary filling, and was a very nice success. So we decided to finish this case. So if we use the laser, remember the pictures you saw before. This is again from the study with Dr. Shronit, hLpht, and you can see here 10,000 magnification, 25,000 magnification, and 50,000 magnification, one solo dentinal tubule. And if we look here, this is EDTA 17%, EDTA 17% with laser. That's the difference. 25. You can see here the bacteria. Nice picture here. And this, of course, is the 50,000. Look at the bacteria here, and this is clean over here. So the Endo side-firing spiral tip was in use. We were very happy, and we had nice results. But unfortunately, what happened is that the company that was doing this laser, the Opus company, decided that dentistry is not enough field for them, and they moved to other things like dermatology. This was Illuminis and Cineron later on, and they stopped actually working in dentistry, and we were left actually with nobody that can produce the tip for us or to have the good Erbium YAG laser for us to work. But there is, every vacuum is being filled, and a new company, Israeli company, came up, stood up to the challenge, and developed a new Erbium YAG laser, which is the light touch Erbium YAG. And of course, as a university, we asked the company to continue to do our studies, and we received this laser. And this laser had the tips, which are sapphire tips, and the sapphire tip can be worked inside the pulp chamber, as we can see here. You can see here, sapphire tip, access opening in the molar was done, and you can see here now that we're going inside the molar, and everything is being removed, and we try to clean as much as we can. But with this tip, we cannot go inside the canal unless the canal is very wide, because if it's not wide enough and we go with the tip can maybe break inside the canal. So this is a case with one of our graduate students. You can see here the patient, Michael. He has a condition of a dancing dentin. This is a very interesting situation, as we can see here. Access opening in the dents, access opening in the denta as well. This is the length measurement, as we see here, and this is with calcium hydroxide. And then we decided, why not to use the laser? So here is the older version of the laser, and you can see here we go, because the canal is very, very wide. So we go inside here. Oh, sorry, this movie is not working. We go inside, and this is actually the final 6 months follow-up, and we can see nice healing happening here. So then we went with the company, and a new laser was a new Endo tip. As you see, Endo side-firing spiral tip was developed together with the Light Instrument company. And you can see here, this is the tip, and this is the plastic tooth, which is filled with some solution. And you see how we move. We go 1 millimeter up and down. You cannot see the noise. I can hear the noise of the laser, but it's difficult on the Zoom to hear the noise. And this is how it works. And from this point, we decided that we are going to develop with the company this laser. So the question was, okay, you want the tip, but we have the sapphire. Yes, but the sapphire cannot be introduced inside the canal because it may break, and we don't want it. So we asked the company, how about if we go back to the old idea and we will develop an endo tip to clean well the canal system? So they asked us, is it necessary to laze inside and all along the root canal in order to obtain optimal results? What is the added value of emitting laser irradiation laterally to the walls of the root canal? This was the $1 million question. So you can see here, lasing with the Endo side firing spiral tip inside and along the root canal. So we go in, look at the bubbles. The bubbles that come in, we can see immediately when we go down the root canal, there is a lot of turbulence of the liquid, of the EDTA, and it starts removing all the debris. So the double effect, why double effect? First of all, the turbulence, which helps to remove, and then the absorption of the energy on the walls of the canal to remove the debris, which are composed also for some hydroxyapatite shavings. So this is one way, and if we go this way, this is the other way. This is when we take a sapphire tip and we work only in the pad chamber without going inside the canal. So this is the study that we decided we must do in order to be convinced what would be the result. So we took those teeth, as you can see here, we used the distal root of a molar. We did all the instrumentation and the lasing inside. You can see here it's cut, and we split it, as we can see here, and we go to the SEM. And when we compare, lasing inside the root canal is on the left, and lasing on the inside the pad chamber only is on the right. And when we take now the next one, this is the 25,000 magnification. You see, it's much cleaner than we have here because the laser was working, but it's not efficient enough if we don't go all along the root canal itself. Please take a look here. This is a beautiful picture because this is the wall of the root canal, and these are the dentinal tubules. You can see there is no content inside the dentinal tubules. They're completely empty. No debris, no shavings. But if you go here, we can see the dentinal tubules here, but inside the tubules, they are filled with smear layer. So for us, it was very, very important that we can demonstrate clean dentinal tubules following 60 seconds of lasing with the Endo side firing spiral tip and EDTA. Now, if we take here, we see 1,000. This is the wall of the canal, and this is, you see, the dentinal tubules, so beautiful. This is 5,000, and this is 10,000. No smear layer, everything is clean very nicely. So if we take a case here, this was already cases that we did with the new tip that we developed with light instruments. And this is a case of a retreatment done by one of our graduate students. You can see here, we go inside, remove the old filling, and then of course, we can go here and we take an X-ray with the tip inside the canal just to show it. And again here, see, you can see how it goes. Always, we must have the EDTA, as you can see here, and then we replenish every 15 seconds. We can replenish, and we go in and we do that. And this is 3 months follow-up. We can see this, that it starts healing. This is a very interesting case. One more case here, and then a few cases of surgery. Eyal, he's a 30-year-old male, was referred to the Endo clinic after drainage to his non-vital lower incisor was established. His medical history revealed the trauma to the lower jaw some years ago during the basketball game. So he came to my clinic actually when one dentist gave him emergency treatment. It was all swollen up, so they make drainage to the canals on this. So you can see here, again, picture of the endo tip inside, and the same way. You just go inside 1 millimeter up and down. We don't need more than 1 minute for each canal. That's it. 1 minute in the whole process of root canal is not such a big problem. So as you can see here, April, June, September 2018, how it started. And this is actually the last one. The last follow-up was April 19. You can see very nicely how everything heals here. So this is how we do, especially we do these cases with periapical lesions to make sure that we have the best clinic. Then, is there an added value for laser technology in endodontics? How about endoresorption? I want to show you this is a very unusual case.
Yes, Stable, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just to tell you that we can have another 15 minutes, so you know how to regular the material you still have.
Yes.
And just to say to the participant, if they have questions, please write it on the Q&A. We'll try to answer some of them at the end.
Okay, thank you, Wally. I think we're doing fine with the time. The preoperative here, this guy, it's an older case. He is the deputy general director of the hospital that we work. He's a guy who is crazy about technology. And when we saw this case, we offered him, because of this internal resorption, how we can clean it. We cannot instrument it very wide. We don't want to weaken the tooth. So you can see here, we did the length measurement here, and we removed the old gutta percha, and here there is the resorption area. So how we can clean it best? And this area, you see tooth number 22, we have the endo tip inside, and then this is the preoperative and 12 months follow-up. You can see now the full reconstruction. He was fully reconstructed, new crowns, new posts, and you can see here the area of resorption is being filled. Luckily, this guy came to my office a few months ago, and I told him, look, we do a root canal for you and another tooth, but I must take a follow-up x-ray here. So we have here a follow-up of 15 years follow-up of this lateral, and look how beautiful everything looks. So this is really a unique case because of its longest follow-up that we had. So just to end up with some endosurgery, because that's important too. The endosurgery, we don't use the endo tip that we do the endo, but we use the sapphire tips. And I would like to show you, this was the first endo case that we did with the oral surgeons, because this case was a case from the oral surgery department. And we came up with the idea and told them, look, how about if we will use here the laser? Why? Because we want actually to go inside the area, the walls of the crypt, and to clean very well all the area to make sure there will be no contamination, no microorganisms. And they says, why not? Let's do it. Let's see if it works. So we started here. You can see this area. It's a huge area here. You can see on the CT, and you can see here there is a sinus tract that we can see. So we started with this, and first of all, just to show you the size of the lesion, which was really huge. You see here, we did it together with Professor Kaspi, the head of surgery in our school, and then we decided to go with the laser. You will see how we work with it. Actually, we use the sapphire tip here, and we go there 2 watts, and we go on the walls of on the bone, the walls of the crypt, to clean everything that is possible. So this was the pre-surgery, post-surgery, as you can see here. At that time, we had to do also the root canal here because the lesion was huge here. And this is 8 months follow-up. Almost all the lesion gone. And the oral surgeons were so much surprised, and they really thought that really this should be kind of a protocol to work on these big lesions and help with the laser to clean. This is a 16 months. This lady, she came to follow up, and you can see it here. This is another case. This young lady, she's 32 years old. She was referred with chronic apical periodontitis. A root canal was done, but it didn't help actually, because the lesion, after 6 months recall, we saw that there is a big lesion here, and you can see the lesion here on the CT, which is really a huge lesion here. Okay. So this is the lady. You can see the lesion that was taken out from here. You can see it here. Everything is encapsulated, goes out. And this is how we work. Just go in, clean systematically. It doesn't take a long time. We just want to make sure that no soft tissue is left behind, and we can clean everything from contamination. And this is the end result, as you can see here. This was after surgery. This is 10 months follow-up. Very nice healing on this side. We're almost done. There's another 2 more cases and we'll finish. Abraham is 6 years old. He was referred to the endo clinic due to a random finding of a large periapical lesion. Look at this area. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a geologist, and he told me that he never figured out that there is something like that in his area. This is a huge lesion here. You can see nothing is here. No pain, no swelling, just a big lesion that sits here and slowly gets bigger and bigger. So if we take a look here at the CT, we see that actually the lesion goes all the way to the palate. There's almost no bone here at all. And when the surgery was done, you can see what was taken out from there. And the same way, periapical surgery using the light touch Erbium laser, as you can see here. Quite a lesion. First, we remove all the lesion with a cuvette as much as we can, but there's always some soft tissue between the roots or behind. We make sure that we take them out. This is after surgery, 4 months follow-up, and this is the 12 months follow-up, as you can see here. I think this is the last case. So this guy is 64 years old. He was referred actually to the endo department for root canal treatment on tooth number 41. But you see there's no canal here. There was no possible way to go inside this canal. So the root canal was completely calcified. Previous x-rays from 15 years ago, already revealed a periapical lesion on tooth number 32. So we can see here, this is tooth number 32. Look at this huge lesion, but this is how it started. This was October 2017. This is 15 years ago. This is how it started. He never took care of that, and we can see very nicely when we follow up the lesion, how big it became. So here we can see all the teeth and the lesion, and of course, the disinfection again, we try to use. Huge surgical site, and when we go, see here, very nicely, slowly by slowly. It doesn't take really a long time, but it's effective. So today with this kind of lesion, we really recommend going in. So this is the post-surgery, and this was 6 months after surgery, and you can see that the lesion is getting smaller and smaller. So I would like just to end, to thank you for listening to me. And we started with Confucius, who was a very smart man, and he said that it is better to light one small candle than to curse the darkness. So this is really very applicable to what we do with lasers, and especially these days when all the world is being bothered by the coronavirus, it is really better to light one candle than to cast the darkness, because the hope is that we'll get out healthy and happy from this crisis. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Adam, the interesting material you brought to us, for sharing with us your knowledge and your long experience with lasers. I liked very much the same in vitro evidence that really laser with ADTA is efficient, and you show it, and it's always, we say, when we see it, we can believe it. And I liked also that you showed us what is happening when we are using the side firing tip with irrigant, or when you're using just the sapphire tip with the irrigants, the difference between them, because some people have the sapphire, some still don't have the side firing tip. But after what we saw, I think that everybody will now try to have also the side firing tip. And about apicectomy, very nice surgery cases. And what I like about the laser, the light touch every yak laser, that with one device, you can do all the surgery. You can open the flap, you can open the window in the bone, like you show, we can provide the resection of the apex. And we should not forget that at the same time, the every yak laser is disinfecting all the tissues, all the surgery site. Now, there are some questions, important questions. We will try to answer some of them. And I will start with Gilad Bardayan. Hello, Gilad from Haifa. He has many questions. Let's see to answer at least one or two of his questions. What is the diameter of the canal needed in order to insert the laser tip? I think that it means to the side firing tip. Is 35 is enough?
Usually we recommend to go a little bit more than that. When we started the planning of this tip, we asked the company to make the tip that will accommodate a canal that was instrumented up to what we were using that time, F3 with the Pro-Taper F3. But with the, from my experience, when I have a case that has a periapical lesion, the canal is completely infected, I like to take my instrumentation a little bit higher. And I think the idea and the strength of the disinfection of a root canal of infected cases, I think the laser has much more power in order to get a success than if we don't use it. Some people will come and will claim, okay, but we don't have a laser. We never thought to buy a laser. We are using some other methods, and in many cases we have success. And I agree, because in order to come and convince somebody, we have to do hundreds and thousands of cases with a laser and without a laser. And this is really very, very difficult. It's a long study for many years, and it's very expensive and very difficult to do it. So what we do instead, actually, we take extracted teeth. We do our studies on extracted teeth, which is not that expensive and can be done very quickly. And actually, we estimate what is happening inside the root canal. Now, if we know that most of the clinicians today in the world agree that the smear layer is not is necessary to remove it. It is not good to leave any smear layer, especially in infected teeth. And we can prove, scanning electron microscope and other methods, we have some microorganism studies to show that the laser energy really cleans and disinfects. I think that the rationale to use it just makes sense.
Of course, thank you. Of course, when I said the side firing tip, I meant side firing endo tip. It's not the side firing tip that we have in light touch made out of sapphire. I said side firing endo tip. So let's call it now endo tip. Now, he's asking also...
Rolly, I would like to mention, I think that may be important, that the tip itself is blocked at the end. There is no transmission that can go through the apical foramen. Okay?
Okay. This is important. This is important.
Yes, because the energy will go only laterally, and the effect is double. First of all, as we said, we have the turbulence that happens with the EDTA, which create a better cleaning, and also there is absorption by the smear layer itself that is being ablated outside the canal. So this is why we have such a good results looking on the SEM slides, how the root canal looks after the lasing.
Gilad is also asking, is the endo tip safe from breaking inside the canal?
Yes, because the idea to make it the tip which looks like a spiral change actually the game. Because if you just take a hollow tube metal and you make holes, so this may be really one weak point in one of the holes, it can break. But when we did it spiral, and you take the tip in your fingers and you bend it, you see how flexible it is. Now, always we recommend, to use tips like that, or files, or nitty files, to use one time. And this is the best practice. We know that some people use nitty files that don't use it for one time. And I'm sure that if someone has the tip, he will try to use it again. But again, you cannot use it 10 times or 15 times or 20 times, because of course, eventually it's a metal and it can break. So if you take it from the box and you use it and you try to bend it, you can really appreciate how flexible it is.
Alina Rotter is asking, may we know the depth inside lateral canal that laser beam reaches?
You mean if there is lateral canal in the tooth?
No, how deep the energy is penetrating inside the lateral canal?
We don't know, because it's very, very difficult to measure, but we can see that the debris that goes inside the canal, the tubules are removed. So it's very difficult to say how many microns it's effective. I wish we can have a good idea to do a study like that, but the best I can answer is that what we have is only SEM specimens that can show this.
So that's another, you received a lot of compliments. There are always, all of them are in the chat. I cannot go all over them. There are many.
I hope that some of them
know that we had you received a lot of compliments.
I hope that some of them are my students.
I will check, but some of them are not Israelis, but
okay.
You have students all over the world because you are lecturing all over the world. So there was just one note that we received, that there was one slide where there was the screen of the light touch with the spray level 4 of water and 4 watt. It's not the energy advices to use it with the endo tip. It was just the picture of the let's say the scream of the laser. It's not the energy.
Yeah, Rolly, this is very important, because when we use the endo tip, we shut off the water. The water should be on 0, because we use only EDTA. We don't want water that comes from the machine, because it's not sterile. So when it's true that when we do surgery or when we use perio, we use, the water that comes from the machine, because we need the cooling effect. The cooling effect in the root canal itself is given by the EDTA. And it's very important, because we should not laze inside the canal without liquid, because if we do that, we can raise the temperature, and we don't want to make any damage to the periodontal ligament. So the EDTA has a double function. First of all, to keep the temperature in the canal, low. And the second one is the chelating agent properties that remove the smear layer.
So at this point, you should give also the protocol, because some of them are asking the protocol, what energy you are using for the endo tip.
So the energy, it depends sometimes on the width of the canal, but it should not, it should be about 1 to 2 watts, not more than that. And if someone feels that the turbulence is too high, okay, you can always reduce the energy, because the volume that the energy works in, the smaller the volume, there will be a lot of turbulence, okay? So this is why high work depends between 1 to 2 watts.
Then Tom Tavesky is asking, when are the microscope pictures taken, with or without ADTA?
The SCM pictures are taken according to the group, because when you do the study, there is a study, if you use EDTA, so of course it's been taken after the use of EDTA and the laser. If you compare it to use of laser and saline, or if you use it, or if you use only EDTA, so it depends on the group in the study. But if we ask what is the best situation, so definitely there is a synergism between the laser energy and the EDTA. Okay.
Anna Maria Shaku is asking, for how many times or canals can you use the endo tip?
Again, so the company always recommend that the tip is being used for one tooth, okay? If you have 3 canals, certainly you don't use the 3 tips, you use the same tip. If you have 1 canal, you use 1 tip, okay? So
can it go in the autoclave? Can you sterilize the tip?
Yeah, but you can sterilize it, of course, but the recommendation is that it will be a single use. So before you use it, you can autoclave it, no problem.
Let's take the last question. What are the benefits using laser with ultrasound?
What do you mean?
What are the benefits using the laser instead of the ultrasound?
Because the cleaning. There are some studies that show that.
One of the first ones, yes.
Yeah, and again, it's a very good question, because the next study that we do, in the same study, we have one more group that compare the use of ultrasonic and the laser itself. But from studies that we have not published, the laser energy, the ultrasonic will give you some turbulence in the canal, but it doesn't have the effect of ablation of the smear layer. So with the laser energy, you get a double effect, as I said, the turbulence that cleans very nicely and the ablation that remove the smear layer.
Let's take the last one because this is important. What happened if the laser applied too much inside the canal?
We never tried it. First, to be honest, you can.
But why to apply it too much?
Yeah,
you decide how much you want to apply.
I think the most important and the beauty of the thing is that you can get the cleaning of the wall in 1 minute. Now, imagine everyone who makes the root canal, you will say, okay, it can take me 45 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. But what is 1 minute in the whole procedure of a root canal? In terms of time and the economy of time, it's really not that important. So to devote 1 minute for your own sake, that you know that you clean the best you can the root canal, and between us, you know, Endo is actually cleaning the root canal, disinfect the root canal, because this is, to me, the most important part in the endo procedure, is the cleaning. And if you can be sure that you're doing this job as much best as you can, I think it's better for you to do that.
So, Adam, time is running. It's almost an hour and a half. We're here together. I thank you again very much. Also, the name of all the participants that sent a lot of compliments. And one of them even is asking, is it possible to take part of the research? What are the requirements to be part of the group of the researchers? So really, I think it's a big success.
You can answer that we always look for international collaborations in research. And if I will be addressed by mail, of course, we will be happy to collaborate.
We will send you the name and the email of who is asking. So we are closing this section, and I'm giving you all participant appointment for next week. Next week, Thursday, 14th of May, we'll have, I have my guest here, Jacek Matis from Poland, and we will discuss together bone surgery with light touch Airbiojag laser. He will present some of his research. He's doing a lot of in vitro research of applying Airbiojag laser on bone, and he will present us a lot of his clinical experience in bone surgery with the light touch Airbiojag laser. So thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Adam. If you want to say a few words to close it.
Well, I would like to thank you for moderating the session, and I would like to thank Light Instruments for inviting me. And also, I think that especially during these difficult times for everyone, I think that these webinars are very, very encouraging, and it's an excellent stage to share the knowledge between all of us. So thank you very much, and whenever it's possible, I would like you to write to me, and if we can collaborate, it will be with a very big pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye.
Dear colleagues and friends, we will meet, we will see on the webinar forum next Thursday, 14th of May. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.